Hello and welcome everybody to CSRlive's Expert Talk. Today we have with us here Mr. Sunish Jauhari, the President of Vitamin Angels India. So hello Sunish and thank you so much for being with us here today. And for our audiences, can we just start with a little introduction about you and the organization first?
Sure, you want me to start, Varun?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure. My name is Sunish Jauhari. I lead a team of Vitamin Angels in India. Vitamin Angels is a public health nutrition organization. We're a global organization headquartered in the US. We've been operational in India for about a decade, over a decade now. But as an organization, we're about 25 years old, work in 60 plus countries. Our work is focused on, as I said, nutrition, but more specifically undernutrition, which means we deal with the areas of micronutrient deficiencies. We work in both nutrition-specific interventions and nutrition-sensitive interventions, which means directly addressing nutritional gap as well as addressing the behavioral aspects of nutrition. Our core work has been providing micronutrient grants, which means basically donations of vitamin A, deworming, multiple micronutrient supplements for pregnant and lactating women across the globe. In India, we've been focusing on vitamin A and deworming for the last 11 years now. We work across the length and breadth of the country. We work essentially with the governments. So we help governments increase their coverage of vitamin A and deworming, which are essentials for covering the nutritional gap. At the same time, we provide technical assistance to the governments in getting their supplies sorted. We also provide advocacy and advisory support to them. In addition, what we also have, since our focus is hard to reach communities, communities which are hard to reach because of the terrain, tribals, or even moving population, right? Essentially, those who, for some reason or the other, are disconnected from public health services or find it hard to access. So Vitamin Angels basically so as you know, governments are supposed to reach every under 5 child and pregnant women to make sure that there is healthy childbirth and then healthy development of a baby until they turn 5. But often across the board, across the world, governments can do only so much, and there often remains a gap, right? 20-30% because of various reasons, and Vitamin Angels kicks in there and supports them to fill that gap. But our effort is to increase the efficiency of the system so that at some point we are not needed, and that gap is filled. And that's the utopian situation.
Absolutely.
That's our work. We have a team which works with very large number of community-based organizations across the country. So we, at any point in time, we are working with 1,000+ partners. And that's the reason we are able to reach, across the country. And the other reason of working with the partners is because we cannot claim as one organization. Well, not only Vitamin Angels, but no organization can claim that they know the diversity and the nuances of diverse communities. So we rely on community-based organizations who come from the community or have a very close connect and know the nuances, are able to reach, they have the comfort with the community, and they're able to provide the last mile support. So let me pause there. That's my work.
So that's a wonderful initiative, firstly, that you guys are, and as you rightly mentioned, you're trying to fill in the gap where, so government do take initiatives of doing so and reaching out for a healthier population in general. I'm just going to generalize it, but of course there are going to be gaps, in organization like yours comes in and fills those gaps, or like at least try to take a step forward towards better stabilization all over the country. So, firstly, I would like to know, how did your journey start with Vitamin Angels? Like, how did you exactly, and when did you exactly come into the organization? And what drew you into, working with Vitamin Angels? Like?
Sure, Varun. It's been interesting for me. I've been with Vitamin Angels for about 2 years now. I come from mixed sectors, different sectors. I spent fairly large amount of time working in PR early on in the career. I spent about 11 years working in diplomatic services with the UK government as a part of their trade and investment division in India. But my journey in social sector started about 15, 17 years ago when I got interested in the area of social entrepreneurship. And I was also in the quest of setting up my own organization in the area of road safety. So I took up a sort of a consulting role in an organization called Ashoka, which is the world's largest organization in social entrepreneurship in Bangalore. And that's how my journey began in the social impact sector. But I got really connected and resonated with the area of social innovation and entrepreneurship because that's where skills and values of businesses and collaboration can come in and play. I worked with Ashoka for about 11 years. When I left Ashoka, I was leading Ashoka in India and South Asia. And then I began my journey with in nutrition. And that's interesting answer to your question, because back in Ashoka in the last few years, I was working on youth programs. Right. And as we know, there is a lot of pressure on the young people these days to increase their cognitive skills, right? We're saying that the future skills will not be so much of STEM and technicals, but more cognitive, problem solving, leadership, empathy. So my quest in that began to basically figure out how does it happen? How does it happen successfully in an adolescent? And more I spoke to people, more I figured that cognition is a function of brain. So how effectively your brain is formed early on, right? And you cannot, it's unfair to expect cognition from a young person unless they are well nourished early on in life. And that's how I got interested in nutrition, because we need to do the right things between 0 and 5 years of age, so that young person goes on to become a robust adult and can fend for themselves. So I was fortunate to get this position, Vitamin Angels. It's a lovely organization. Happy to be here.
That's actually quite an interesting journey you had, because how it connected the dots and you're here. That's amazing. So now coming to the working of Vitamin Angels here. So you guys are a very well spread organization, as you previously mentioned. You are working with 1,000+ partners even in India and other countries as well. Do you think it becomes a little difficult to coordinate among so many partners? Because I can understand that the top level or the managerial section of the organization would come out with a strategic, line that we have to go like this or go take these steps. But working with so many people, is it difficult to make sure that what you guys envisioned is happening actually on the ground level, or is it like a relatively easier task with your organization?
I wouldn't really call it easy or difficult, Varun. I think I think any organization that has a partnership model, right, at the core of it, has to be immensely collaborative by nature, right? And when you're collaborative by nature, you basically humble that you don't know it all, right? There are others, and there are organizations who are better connected to the ground, have a better sense of the problem. And hence you can come in with, as an ally, provide support where it's needed, but also back it with the necessary science, right? So our work, essentially, we are a very scientific organization. We rely on evidence-based nutrition interventions. So it's a good and win-win marriage of sorts with partners, because they come with a solid intent of making change, bringing change in the community, while we come in with technical support and the right evidence-based interventions. So it's a good collaboration, right? So I wouldn't say it's easy necessarily, because you're looking at managing, like you said, managing a very large number of partnerships. But at the same time, when the goal is aligned and everyone's aligned on reducing extent of anemia, for example, or stunting or wasting, rest is all the logistics of it. But solid goal alignment is required to run.
As you correctly said, like people need to have the clear aim and the same aim to actually work into that direction for having a smoother work in the organization. That's true. So, coming to my next question, Sunish, you mentioned that you guys work with the government a lot as well. You guys, partner with the government also, and essentially, so because the work sector you guys are in, of course, will have heavy government involvement as well. So, how exactly is the experience being with working with Indian government, like in this sector particularly?
I think we're all looking at the same problem, whether it's someone in the government, a technocrat, or the executive leadership there, or civil society organizations, or even funders who fund our work, right? Basically, everyone wants to get to the same end point, so to say. So when we go work with the governments, one is our intent is to go with openness, figure out where do they see gaps, but also go with credibility of having worked with various governments and causing impact. It's sometimes not the easiest thing to do, because there are changes in the leadership. There have been times when we have built a journey with the government, for example, the state government or National Health Mission leader. But there, suddenly the leadership changes, and then you have to build that relationship again. But if you're sure this is your specific intervention, or this is what you're bringing to the table, the conversation is pretty straightforward, right? Also, it's not all the same across the board, because there are some states, as you would know, where the extent of work on nutrition is higher, while some states really need support. Their coverage is low. So where it's really needed, and the coverage, for example, is as low as 60%, 65%, we come in and becomes a very natural partnership. But where the already extent of work is good, there are good government programs, good uptake of those programs, last mile reach is there, their reach is 80-85%, then we just come in with the technical support, and the relationship is more high touch than more low touch than high touch. Yeah.
So, Sunish, are there, so right now that's amazing. We got a clear view of how exactly the organization works in itself, or with the government, or like different partners in the country. So, is there any ongoing project that you would like our audiences to know about as of now, or like any project that you have felt like, this was the stepping stone for our organization in this country, that was like that felt very successful to you on a personal level?
Yes, we actually involved in a number of projects, but the ones that I would mention, or two that I would mention here, are where we are beginning to realize that the problem that we're dealing is very complex, right? So UI, government, philanthropies, etc., can do only so much. At the end of the day, this the household that eats, right? And our work is in the area of nutrition. So unless nutrition is consumed, you don't improve the nutritional indicator. So there's a lot that rests with the household at the end of the day, right? So while we continue to work in evidence-based interventions and provide, for example, micronutrient grants, work with the governments to strengthen the system, we are also very keen and interested to find innovations where uptake of nutrition could be increased in the households, right? So a good example is often we found that uptake of, let's say, crispies and chips and savories in villages is far higher than, for example, porridge, right? Or any nutritious product. I'm taking a very simple example. Now, could we work, for example, with the businesses or last mile innovators from the communities to increase uptake of such products, or even create new products which have better reception from the community, right? So that the behavior changes, and maybe what is going on in the household level on, let's say, snacks could go into hardcore nutrition or nutritious products and greens and vegetables, for example. To do that, we have tied up with UNICEF to launch one of the first and the largest innovation platforms. It's called Poshan Innovation Platform. We're also tying up with different state governments to for the outreach. But the idea is that this platform allows any innovation which increases uptake of nutrition at the household level among, especially the households where there are young children or pregnant women or new mothers. And we would rather bring up these innovations, help them, support them, and scale, than just relying on the handful of interventions that currently exist in the market. So in essence, if I could word it like that, we are betting on the unknown, right? Known interventions are there and they're going well, but we believe that there must be some unknown or undiscovered interventions that may be working in small communities but have potential to scale, right? So this Poshan Innovation Platform, which is going to be launched late February, is currently in advanced stages of working, planning, and we're really betting big on that. It'll go on for 2 years, and hopefully we'll get somewhere in improving nutrition indicators with that.
That sounds wonderful.
Project that I'm really interested in mentioning here.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful yet complex. So all the best to you guys to go on that journey and come out successful, and I'm sure you guys will. So Sunish, now we are a CSR platform ultimately, and you have been in the industry for so long, and you have had that experience. You have seen the country develop in terms of CSR in the last few years. What would your take would be like the CSR involvement in this whole thing, and like the corporate involvement in this whole thing, or like in any generic social work in the country? What do you think? How important is CSR for us and the corporate's involvement?
See, I think India has one of the most matured CSR frameworks, and if I were to call it a sector, a CSR sector, so to say, right? One may argue that it's because of the mandatory CSR policy, but I think CSR has been ingrained in Indian, at least organizational DNA, right? If you see some of the organizations that people really get inspired with, the Tata Group, for example, it's been going on for many years, right? Many decades. So and I've also seen, being in the sector for the last few years, that it has further matured by because of the massive presence of civil society organizations, and who have covered some distance in strengthening their governance, their theories of change, the connect with the community. In fact, COVID period, the last 2 years, was a huge example, right? When everyone worked together, right? People really across the sectors came together, and there was a massive realization that the citizen sector or the civil society plays a big role when it comes to large disasters, right? So I think, to answer your question, some large organizations are already doing that in their CSR, but there is a need for CSR to be open to experiment, right? Go beyond their existing frameworks and bet big on innovations, social innovations, sort of blended models like social entrepreneurship, for instance. And yeah, of course, continue to invest in trusts and charities, which they're doing. But at the same time, I think we need to rely on the new frameworks which are currently coming up. One big thing I'm seeing, an increasing openness among CSRs is to bet on large collaborative projects where there's no just one organization involved, but a coalition of organizations coming and trying to make a larger impact. It also works well because when you go to a government stakeholder, for instance, there is discomfort in working with a small NGO, but when you look at a large coalition with the same goal and capacities coming together, there is potential to work at population scale, right?
Correct.
So CSRs, I think, need to take notice of that and start looking at collaborative projects which come with really sophisticated partnership models that can bring change at the population scale.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct in this area, because I feel like India has been I mean to say, like Indian corporates or like Indian CSR channels have been a little hesitant when it comes to collaborative project. They actually just want to directly go to like some organization and put the, invest the money to see the results, because that way the results are shown like way earlier if you go in a collaborative engagement. So that might just take some time to, get together. But I absolutely agree with all your points here. So as a parting note to our audiences for such a lovely insight on vitamin angels and whatever has been happening in the Indian CSR environment these days, what would you leave our audiences with? Is there something you want them to know about regarding the project coming up, as you mentioned, that is going to start on February? Or is there something like, where do you guys see vitamin angels coming in the next 5 years or something? What's the bigger picture here, like your goal? So I would like to mention how you initially said that you want to fill the gap and like leave, so that your role is not needed anymore, and I think that's beautiful. So
thanks, Varun. Thanks for this question. And I think while I would still plug our initiative, which is Potion Innovation Platform here, and I would encourage everyone, whether in the CSR circuit or doing any worthwhile work in the area of nutrition, public health, to start looking at this platform as something that they can co-create with us, take ownership with us. We don't want this platform to be a Vitamin Angels platform. It's a sectors platform, and hopefully it exists beyond us. So would urge everyone to watch this space. We'll come out with public communication on this. But at the same time, I'd also make a generic point here, Varun. Problems and the nature of our problems is such that every problem you pick up is massive in terms of numbers. Numbers is something which we benefit from in India, and we also get hurt from. Same as the problem with nutrition. So I feel in many ways our problems have gotten out of hand, right? So I think we should also start looking at it from the point of view of solutions going out of hand, right? Solutions to the problems cannot be in the custody of a handful of organizations. So everyone needs to contribute to change, whether they're a household, they're an individual, or a VP in a company, right? So only then I think we'll start looking at contributing to a collective shift in the community. I don't take pride in saying that 1 in every 2 women in India is anemic, right? Or 67% of children are anemic in India, right? Which is worse than sub-Saharan Africa. There's no pride in that. So as an individual or an organization, I would see whatever little I can do to contribute to this positive shift that we all want to cause, right? That's all I would say as a passing thought.
absolutely, and I hope we can get this message out there as much as possible, and I hope that our audiences also I've gained a lot of insight regarding this whole topic and issue through this interview. So thank you so much, Nish, and thank you, Vitamin Angels, for joining us here on this platform, and from the whole team of CSR Live, and as well as me personally, I have gained a lot of insight from this, and I hope this message can go out there more and more people can collaborate with you, and even the corporate network for that matter. So thank you so much once again, and I hope to connect with you guys again very soon. And after the project starts, we'll again meet in after discuss the success story of that. I'm sure.
I look forward to that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here, Varun.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Right.